Hi everybody, it's Steve here. Just to let you know that there was a slight issue with the sound early on in the pod, the first couple of minutes or so. Ozzy had already spoken, so you join us midway through rapping Rob Kelly, giving his 2 pence worth. I do address it later on in the podcast, but there was an issue, so it's nothing to worry about. Here we go with Rob.
For dropping away, credit to him for focusing on boxing. They already got rid of all the strength and conditioning stuff and just did the boxing for this training camp, which is what you'd expect from a fella who's wanting his championship back. But Ruiz, man, he's going to rule that. He's going to rule that, because even in this tiny number of exchanges that there were in the fight, you could see that he still had AJ ruffled. He still had him. He ate AJ shots all night without really looking shook. He started to walk through him after the first round, but I'd say he's going to be very, very disappointed that he didn't come in lighter, because that's shocking. 20 stone 3, man, come on.
Do you know what, Rob? I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't fight again. Being brutally honest,
maybe not. Yeah, but look, but on that, I was thinking about that immediately. I was like, will we see Ruiz again, or will he be a one-hit wonder? But you see, Povetkin is the chief support again tonight, getting a fucking draw. You wouldn't be surprised if Ruiz is knocking about there for the next 4 or 5 years and gets other opportunities, for another belt at some stage.
Yeah, the thing is though, Povetkin never earned that money that Ruiz did. What's Ruiz earned from the past 2 fights? What?
True, 75 million or something. This is crazy money.
I've seen money that he's earned in the past 2 fights, and we saw from the first time that was literally a chance that he'd never expect, and he went in, and I never expect. You can just take that Joshua boxed the wrong game plan, and he got caught, and tonight he still got caught, and in my opinion, that in a couple of rounds he still got hurt, but at the same time, people will look at him and think, oh, he boxed like a negative game plan, but Joshua boxed to win. And he won. And for me, you can't criticise him, because if this was a Tyson Fury performance, you would say it's an absolute masterclass. And it was a similar performance to Joseph Parker. I thought the referee had sometimes aided him when he tried to, he held and he bulldozed in. But at the same time, you can't give Ruiz any credit whatsoever. And for me, how do you see Ruiz coming back now? What's he earned? Say, for example, what did he get? 8 and 12 million for the past 2 fights? $20 million? Does he really need to come back? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, boys, sorry, we did have a bit of a sound problem going on early on. I think that they can hear us now, hopefully, so I'll tidy that up in the editing later on. They missed, Ozzy, your initial soliloquy. Apologies outside the pub. I was saying to the boys, Ozzy's here, Gabe's here, and rapping Rob Kelly. I think we cut in just around rapping Rob Kelly. I'll cut all that out at the beginning. Ozzy, give us another brief rundown, sorry, just before I bring Gabe in, exactly what you were saying at the beginning, because I don't think the guys heard it. There was an issue with the sound.
So for me, I felt Joshua was a worthy winner. I'm pissed off. I was in a pub tonight and surrounded by casuals, and I had money on with the casuals straight away. They were giving me 4-1 on Andy Ruiz. They were saying oh, Joshua is the kingpin, and he's the next heavyweight. He's the kingpin, and I happily took that. But at the same time, Big Andy was a disgrace. He was an absolute disgrace. I don't really know his tactics. I don't think the weight was an issue. I didn't look at him and, I felt he looked gassed or anything. But he struggled with somebody on a jab. And it said it all in round 12. He called Joshua on because he knew he was behind. I mean, I'm looking at the cards and people are saying, oh, it was a disgraceful card. I disagree. I struggle to give Ruiz rounds. Joshua, it's easy to criticise somebody, but he boxed to a game plan and he was excellent. And like I say, if that was Tyson Fury, we'd be all over him and say, what a brilliant performance. That saying, I would still take Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury over him. I've already tweeted that out and people are saying why. I feel Deontay Wilder would knock him out, and I think Tyson Fury would outbox him. And I think Deontay Wilder's power is freakish, and he just needs to land one shot. And as for Tyson Fury, I rate him as the number 1 heavyweight in the world. So a brilliant performance by Anthony Joshua. However, I don't rate him as the number 1, but at the end of the day, he's a unified champion of the world. And who's next? I have no idea. Is it Kubrat Pulev? I'll be fucking pissed off if it is. Because next time I want to see it, it's the winner of Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua.
Absolutely.
John,
Tosh is in the chat here. He says, couldn't close that fucking gap, man. It was infuriating to watch. I thought that Joshua fought a very solid, very disciplined fight. He used his jab and the ring, which was very big. They did their job behind the scenes, getting the size of the ring sorted out like that. They really did well. It was a Klitschko-esque performance from Joshua, and his team got the game plan spot on. He executed it well, Gabe, from start to finish. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Rapping Rob Kelly. Well, the same point around Ruiz's weight. We wondered what he was going to come in at. We looked at him. We thought it might be a ruse. We thought it might be weights in the pockets. He looked like a fat slob, Gabe, and that's exactly what he was. He was too heavy to capitalise on the opportunities for me.
Well, I think that was a big part of it. I think he couldn't move like he needed to, and I think the weight slowed him down to the point where his feet, which I thought were going to be the key to him winning, were so bogged down that he couldn't really put himself into a favorable position to ever really land any good punches. This is a guy that for those of us who've been watching for a while, you've seen his struggles with the weight and looking like a bit of a slob never a bit. I guess he's always looked slobbish. That's pretty much what it is. But you're talking about a guy who, for the most part, has been successful in just about every endeavor, despite his physique. And so, his real big advantage was his IQ. I think that was always the big idea that I had with him, was because he's much more natural in terms of a fighter. He moves in a way that is very, very natural. I don't know how to describe it any more than like if you were to watch, somebody who's just learning to play the game of basketball versus someone who's been playing for 15 years or maybe at an NBA level, whatever it is. I think that was what I felt was going to be the key. And I certainly, in my prediction, never imagined Anthony Joshua being able to box the way he did for 12 rounds. He's always come across as a little bit sloppy in some aspects to me. And another big point as well was that he just doesn't always seem to be the most disciplined guy, but he absolutely proved me wrong. So I'll eat crow on this one. I thought he did a tremendous job at following the game plan and making it work to his advantage. And they had everything to a T, and he was focused, and there was no trace of sloppy Joshua. That was maybe the best performance I've seen from him in terms of knowing what he wanted to do and doing it, and not getting wild, sloppy, unfocused, whatever you want to put to it. So I think overall, to go back to your question, my answer for that, I gotta tell a long fucking story because I'm a goddamn Texan. I think the big thing was that it was a dual issue. It was the weight of Ruiz and the sloppiness that he didn't have with his application of training and the game plan of Joshua. And you saw it at the very end. Ruiz is trying to bait him in, and even with 5 seconds left, Joshua wasn't going to do it. And so he was too fat. He was too fucking slow.
I thought that was a cop-out. I thought that was a real cop-out from Ruiz. I think if you're going to criticize Joshua like we did for jacking it in the first fight, I think that's a cop-out from Ruiz in the second fight. I mean, he hears the sound, he hears the noise to tell him that there's 10 seconds left to go on the round, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, come in. But, I mean, it was too little, too late. Like, wasn't active enough in the fight, did everything wrong. And, a large part of that is down to AJ. But I just thought that particular, that moment was a cop-out for me for Ruiz.
Yeah, I do think that you're right. I think that was exactly what it was. And you've seen it a million times before with a guy that's moving versus a guy that is a little bit too stationary or has to really set his feet to punch. Like a Tito Trinidad and Bernie Hopkins, or Trinidad and Oscar De La Hoya, something like that, where the guy that is the puncher is really not able to have good footwork and utilize it to put himself in position to use the power. And so I really felt like the big issue overall was that Joshua was spot on and Ruiz was too fat and too sloppy to make a difference and to have any kind of possible success. I mean, we're talking about even in the instance that he landed a big punch, he would have still had to have been in way better shape to fucking give himself that glance of an opportunity. I just felt like it was off night for him all the way around, but I don't think it was because he had a bad night and chalk it up to one bad evening. It was because he trained like shit, he looked like shit, and he didn't apply himself for the fight. I think he maybe almost went into the fight resolved that he was going to fucking lose, is what it looked like to me, because it was awful. I was really disappointed that he didn't have a little bit more pride in himself and pride in his team to make a better account of himself, because there was no way with that shape he was in he was going to get close. Fucking no way.
I fell asleep.
Big names all out tonight, everybody. Curly Watts lost money on it. JG is in there. Jason Chukwu's woken up just in time for the chat. Really thriving chat tonight. 11,500 people in there. They're all chatting away like mad. Good to see you all in the chat room. I thought Sergio Mora made a good point on the DAZN feed, 12th round. Andy Ruiz may have the faster hands, but he has the slower feet. At no point, Rob, did Joshua really lose his shape and get sucked in. It happened on the odd occasion, maybe the 8th round, but he reset, remembered what he was meant to do in there, and it was all off the jab, moving constantly, and Joshua took the shots that he did take very well. Like Gabe, I've got to eat humble pie, man.
He did, but I still think he looked a little bit fragile when he got hit, so I'd be worried about that form against a big puncher like Wilder. I just don't think he beats Fury, but yeah, I mean,
Wilder,
yeah, he evaporated him. But I think in terms of Ruiz Jr., his footwork, he wasn't able to get close. He struggled to give him 3 rounds. I think he won the 4th round. He had quite a good round where he rocked AJ, and he came good in the 8th. But fighting in spots, man, it just wasn't good enough all across the board tonight for Ruiz, and he was beaten soundly by AJ. It was a good performance. I'm not gonna say there wasn't a good performance from AJ. It was a very good performance from him. He did exactly what he had to do, but Ruiz wasn't able to do anything that he was supposed to do because he was fucking. But that's not taken away from AJ's performance. I mean, it's not his fault Ruiz is coming into the ring. That's the game plan to use to beat Ruiz any day of the week. 22-foot ring, keep him on the jab, move side to side, get away from him, don't stand in front of him and trade off with a fella who's better at fighting inside. And he tied up, so I got to give him credit. We talked about that last week. I didn't think he'd have the instincts there to tie up, but he was tying up on the inside, just nullifying. So he wasn't doing much, but he was stopping Ruiz from doing anything.
Yeah, AJ still has that fragility, physically, more mentally at the moment, but Ruiz wasn't able to capitalise. Ozzy, I think Wilder would beat him, I think Fury would beat him, but what about New York now? Do we look back on that in a different light? Maybe it was the anomaly. We all agree that AJ, whatever was going on behind the scenes, didn't look right. So are we, he's managed to rectify that? Are we pushing this Ruiz thing to one side? Or is it a harbinger of potential problems going forward that could rear their head on AJ in the future, Ozzy?
I disagree in the fact that he felt he looked worried and like not himself. I think that just happened. It's heavyweight boxing, and he got caught with a brilliant shot. You can't take anything away from Andy Ruiz. It was a brilliant shot and a great performance, and he dominated that fight. But Anthony Joshua adjusted. He dropped the weight, and it worked perfectly. You can't criticise him for this performance whatsoever. He was excellent. Like I said, at times, I would give Ruiz maybe 2 or 3 rounds tops. And whilst he landed shots, Joshua never looked wobbled, and he looked like a boxer tonight. He didn't look like a bodybuilder. And all we can say is, look, as you say, Steve, in my opinion, that Deontay Wilder knocked him out. I just think that Joshua was there to hit, and people slate Deontay Wilder whatsoever, but he somehow manages to land that shot, and he carries power in every hand whatsoever. And as for Tyson Fury, in my opinion, I've always rated him as the number 1, and I think he still is the number 1 whatsoever. I think he beats Deontay Wilder next time out. But that saying, I still think Deontay Wilder beats Anthony Joshua as well. However, I'm not going to take any credit away. As Rob said as well, you can't criticise Anthony Joshua for this performance. He was excellent. He learned. Bear in mind, he had 6 months for this. He had 6 months from a guy that he didn't just knock him out. It wasn't, like a one-shot performance. What did he do? It was a one-sided beatdown. But Joshua went away. He dropped the weight. People raised concerns about that, saying, "Oh, is this okay? Can he take the shots from the weight?" He was excellent. He dominated. As for Big Andy, what can we say about him? Not a lot, really, to be honest. A very, very disappointing performance. I wouldn't be disappointed.
That was
I would.
a bum.
You what? Sorry, Gabe.
I thought it was a performance of a bum. I thought he looked like a bum going in there. I thought he looked like a bum at the way he was fighting. I thought
This is Ruiz, by the way. This is Ruiz.
Absolutely, Josh.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I'll be pro on all that because I said last week that I didn't see any way Joshua could win because I didn't think he could do what he just did for 12 rounds, and he did immaculate.
Yeah, I agree, Gabe. And I felt that Joshua didn't have it in him. He was excellent. You just seen him, and Ruiz was like this. Literally, I looked into I didn't look into the weight at all. I felt like, look, he weighed in fully clothed. He had trainers' clothes. He weighed in at 5 o'clock in the evening, so he's had breakfast, dinner, tea. He's had weight, so what's he put on 4 pounds realistically after eating, drinking, etc., things like that. But in reality, he takes his shirt off. He looks like a fat slob. Literally, he was getting paid millions of dollars, and he walked into the ring and he looked like a fat cunt. It's frustrating, really. It's really frustrating. But Joshua boxed to a game plan, and it worked. I want to give a shout out to Rob McCracken because when he got beat, Rob McCracken was the easy target. People slated him. People slagged him off. Said he was at fault for the Joshua defeat. I completely disagree. And I hope we're really going to give Rob McCracken the credit he deserves. Sorry, I've got some fluffy flags running past me now. I'm hidden under a little doorway, and some flags have just run past me. Anyway, but Rob McCracken.
Careful now, don't get daft, Oz.
You what, sorry?
Mate, I said don't get daft out there.
I won't hold back. You should have seen him. They were fucking big girls as well. Fucking huge. Anyway, but Rob McCracken, he deserves the credit as well because it would have been easy. He took some stick big time. He was blamed the Anthony Joshua defeat. Well, I hope he gets some credit now because he masterminded a defeat over Andy Ruiz after his fighter got well and truly battered in the previous fight. And it was tremendous. It was a great display. And I look forward to the next fight.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, you listen to the post-fight pod. Anthony Joshua has taken the belts back off Andy Ruiz in their rematch. Rob's here with me, Ozzy and Gabe. We'll be going for about another 10 minutes or so, so if you want to get on, do call in. You are very welcome. Ozzy's left the call, but friend of the pod, John Kearns, has jumped on. How you sounding, John? You there, John? John's just downloaded Skype. I noticed that you're muted. Go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me now, Steve?
Absolutely, loud and clear. Go ahead. What's your verdict on the big fight, John?
Yeah, nice one for having me on, lads. I come on probably about a year ago after the year. I mean, I think it was in Birmingham last September, but I got cut off then. Overall, to be honest, I thought Ruiz was absolutely shite compared to what I thought was going to turn up. But for the first time in a year, I've listened to a Sky commentary, and they're talking like they were mentioning Muhammad Ali in there. I mean, he beat a poor Ruiz, but that performance by Joshua was nothing to write home about. It was nothing special. That's not beating your Furies, your Wilders, Usyk either, to be honest with you.
Well, you mentioned Usyk there. I was going to ask you about that. We think Kubrat Pulev might be pushed forward at some point, but the mandatory for the WBO is looming. Alexander Usyk, is he someone you would pick to beat Joshua? How do you see it going?
To be honest with you, yeah. But then it's always the case with Joshua. I think if it's going to go the stretch, you've got the fear of getting hosed, whoever the opposition is getting hosed on the cards. I don't know whether Usyk could just get him out there like he has done with other people in the past. I mean, obviously you've seen against Bellew when he absolutely mullered him. He sort of looked quite lazy early on and then pretty much took him out. It'd be nice to see, but it's class to hear because you listen to all the Sky commentary, like they talk about it like it's the second coming of Ali, and all we're going to watch for the next year is inboxing your Pulevs or probably some other shit mandatory challenger from somewhere. It's absolute bollocks. Disappointing really by Ruiz, I think, more than anything. Not by Joshua, he done what he had to do. I thought he won handily, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Ruiz definitely shit the bed. He just came in too heavy. He didn't look a great spectacle with the guts hanging over the waist.
Do you all think he was actually that heavy? Because all the things about the clobber he had on and everything on the way in, I don't know whether he was that fat and that over, to be honest with you. And heavyweight boxing, I mean, on the weigh-ins, I don't pay much attention to it anyway. They can load with water before it. They can do anything. I wouldn't be surprised if Ruiz was fucking around with him and he made it look like he was that heavy, to be honest with you. I mean, the clobber he had on it alone would have been a few pounds. I don't know how much difference that made. I know he said in his interview at the end that he maybe didn't take things very seriously in camp, which is a joke as well, to be honest with you. I mean, he said he was training himself for most of it. If that's true, that's absolute shite from someone who's supposed to hold 3 belts in that division.
I don't know if he was as heavy as he made out, but whatever weight he came in at, I go by the eye test and he looked too heavy to me.
But then he did in his last fight, didn't he, Steve?
I know. I thought he looked a little bit trimmer in the last fight. I thought he looked at least a stone lighter in the last fight. His midsection and all tonight, like, is just fucking hanging out. Like, I know he was heavy in the last one, but his back and everything, when he was getting jabbed, his fucking back was rippling and everything. Like,
no.
He was a mess, man.
I completely get what you're saying. He did look heavier, but people are talking like he was in incredible nick in the last fight and he's just let himself go. He was in shit nick then. He's in shit nick now. I mean, at them weights.
Yeah, but I think the turnaround helped him in the last one. Yeah, I think the turnaround helped him. Like, he just had a fight, had a camp, and then he had a quick 5-week camp. Maybe the 12 weeks. You know, I buy into that. Like, I spoke about this months ago on the pod when he was doing all, like, he bought the Bentley, he bought the big house, he's out eating everywhere, he's out partying. Like, you know, it's fucking, people say, all right, he always does that and all, but, like, I really thought he took Joshua kind of lightly tonight. I think it could have been a reverse a little bit. Like, I think I felt like he didn't. It looked like he didn't take it seriously. He was in the limelight heavy for the last 6 months, while AJ kind of disappeared under the radar and came back up with a Beats by Dre commercial tonight. But other than that, like, I know there's been a big difference in between the two of their preparation by the looks of it. Like,
I enjoyed the Lynx adverts just before Christmas as well. That was decent. Fair play.
What about both men going forward then, John? What we're looking at, Ruiz maybe slide off into obscurity, go back to what he always was before, what we thought he was?
He'll have the classic heavyweight fighter on the matchroom card. He'll get fights now. They've got loads of heavyweights, haven't they? Probably see him in there with Huey Fury or something, which will be absolute shite. The next few fights, he'll be on their cards, I think, and they'll be able to sell that as the usual bollocks. But like I say, I think Joshua will fight his shit mandatories for the next year. Can't see him boxing anyone decent. He's not going to go near Wilder or Fury. As you have said on the pod as well, regardless of that next result, Wilder and Fury will fight for a third time. They're not going to be asked about fighting him. Not with the demands that he comes in with. They won't get anything on their terms. You'd like to see Usyk force his way in there. Like I say, that's the only hope for me. I think Pulev's pretty shite as well, to be honest with you. I think Joshua beats him.
I think they'll get Pulev in at some point.
I'm disappointed because I hate the shite that surrounds Matchroom and everything that comes with him. And that's not I'm not anti the promoter or anything else. I just hate everything that comes around the fighters. So it's nice to see someone else mess things up. So I'm a bit disappointed from that point of view. But I can't believe someone who's done that in the last fight has come in and been that poor tonight, to be honest with you. It's well disappointing.
What about the undercard, John? Highlights, maybe starting with Dillian White?
Do you know, there was no comments by Sky about his weight, was there? About how heavy he's coming. Isn't that not a career high or something for him? Or he's put on loads of weight, hasn't he? I thought he looked shit as well.
I think he come in heavy on purpose, maybe. People look at him and go, that guy can't be on PEDs. Look at the state of him.
Well, it's supposed to be downable anyway, so it's not going to strip him down. But, I mean, Marius Swack got ironed out by Martin Bacoli last year. And then what? He's getting pulled in against Dillian White, who apparently he hasn't been banned. He's not been banned by UKAD, according to Hearn. So we couldn't see him up a decent opponent. He had to put him in against White within 3 or 4 weeks' notice. It's a load of shit. That's a load of bollocks as well. I don't know if he's all cover that tomorrow night, but that's. I mean, if you thought UKAD was shite anyway, that's unbelievable. I actually enjoyed the Hunter v Povetkin. I think a few people were slating it online. It was good. It was a good action fight. It was decent, like. And then I missed Maginov v Little, to be honest with you. I didn't see that. I know it was a Facebook feed. I don't bother with Facebook, so missed that one completely.
Yeah, you didn't miss too much. You can maybe go back and watch it. Final comments then, John, just to close up before we move on.
No, just nice one for having me on. Like I say, went to come on last year, was on a train, got cut off, but nice one. Disappointing overall, but maybe disappointed for the wrong reasons, you know. Just because I didn't want to see Joshua win, I'd have loved to have seen Hearn's face after that. If them belts went back to America, it'd have been class like. But you know, it is what it is.
Absolutely, John. Thanks for coming on. You're always
nice
welcome.
One. Cheers, lads. Nice one.
Cheerio.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Turns there. Friend of the pod, Rob. I was going to go to Gabe, but we'll go to you, seeing as you're unmuted. Couple of historical precedents. One we said beforehand was possibly Mike Tyson against James Buster Douglas, bloating afterwards. Bit of a Douglas comparison.
Yeah, but Douglas and Tyson never had a rematch. Of course, it was Evander Holyfield. I remember the headline from Ring Magazine when that happened. It was hunger. It made Evander a champ. It made Buster a chump. And I suppose that could ring true tonight of Ruiz. One thing that struck me, regardless of his weight, is that he wasn't able to make the adjustment to AJ's different strategy tonight. So I think he expected AJ to be kind of similar that he was in the first fight, and that he was going to have opportunities to fight opportunities to present themselves. He wasn't able to find a way in. Kind of neglected the jab. It just felt like he was conserving energy and fighting in spots. So
Rob, are you out in the middle of the ocean or something? It sounds pretty windy there.
It's a big storm there tonight. Sorry, I'll get into a better spot. You can hear me though, or no?
We were losing you at one point.
But yeah, I think he wasn't able to make adjustments to AJ, and he was fighting like a guy who was fighting in spots, conserving energy, and it just the strategy that AJ adopted tonight worked perfectly, and Ruiz could do nothing about it. So that was interesting to see that, you know, guy that won a world title wasn't really able to change it. I don't know if he wasn't physically able to change it, or from an IQ perspective he wasn't able to change it, but regardless, he wasn't able to get inside, and AJ stuck it to him all night.
Yeah,
I think he looked afraid to try to fucking change it. To try to change it, he would have had to get inside, and if he did that, he was going to eat some punches on the way inside. That's all there was to it. So I think he was a little bit gun shy.
Yeah, no, but I think he shipped shots all night. He didn't look particularly hurt apart from the first round with the cut. I thought he ate the shots pretty well. Like, but no, I don't know.
I know. Fuck him.
Gabe, John Fury, father of Tyson, said beforehand that he wouldn't have advised taking the rematch if he was Joshua. He should have gone off and had another fight in between. I never even thought that would be an option, to be honest. I think Joshua and his team did the right thing, and ultimately they got vindicated.
Yeah, he looks like a fool for that comment now. No, I think, I mean, it's one of those things. I don't know. I mean, I think about my time whenever I played sports, you know, as a younger man. I mean, I don't understand that kind of mentality. As a, you know, football player, you know, baseball player, all the stuff that we did as kids, and I'm sure all the people that play soccer around the world, all that kind of stuff, there's a certain mentality to competing, and if you lose, you want to get it back. And I think that's the same fire that you see in a lot of fighters too, where if they get hit, they try to get 2 more shots back, you know, to make up for it. And I for one have never understood the mentality of, if you get your ass whipped, not wanting to have a rematch. Now, if you go in and you get almost beaten to death, I see it's a little bit different there, because it ain't like football or soccer or basketball or any other fucking sport in the world. You know, if you go in and you really get your ass stomped, I mean, just beaten within an inch of your life, maybe you don't need to take a rematch right away. But in the case that we saw there, I don't see why you wouldn't want to. I don't see why, if you're the man and you're the boss of the camp and you make the decisions, why you wouldn't want to go back out there and have that rematch and get that chance for vindication. I mean, I don't know. I know boxing's a little bit different than a lot of other sports, than every other sport. And I understand that sometimes the immediate rematch is not always the best decision. I get that kind of mentality. But I never have understood that kind of mentality. So those comments to me are strange. I would always, you know, like I said, as a younger man, if somebody beat us, I wanted to play them again right then, so we could get another shot. If it was a team sport, you know, if we're going up to, you know, in baseball to hit, and somebody strikes you out, you want to go right back at them and try another round. You know, whatever sport it is, I think that's the ultimate mentality of people that are top competitors and winners. And so I think he was vindicated by that. I think his performance was tremendous. I think his mentality was top notch, and I for one appreciate the fact that Joshua didn't hide from the rematch. I gave him a lot of shit, and I'm not going to stop giving him shit because, quite frankly, I really don't care for him all too much. I think he's a cocky little prick. But in terms of what he accomplished, I don't see why you wouldn't want to go for a rematch. So my point to make is I think he did a great job tonight in this fight, and I think that I appreciate when fighters go for the rematches even after they get that ass beat, because that to me is a sign of a person who is a real competitor and someone who's really there to compete and to win. And so I can definitely appreciate it. I'd rather not have those kind of comments about not taking rematches.
Yeah, a couple of points from the guys in the chat just before we close up. Everyone loves a comeback story, so AJ could be even bigger this time. I agree with you, Jason, as well regarding the Ruiz-Parker fight. It is revisionist history. A lot of people, they'd completely flipped and said, oh, Ruiz absolutely beat Parker, that was a robbery. In hindsight, I thought it was a close fight. I thought Parker was the deserved winner by a couple of points or so it was revisionist history. I agree with that, Jason. Rob, just before we go on to the undercard, final one for you. I made the James Buster Douglas comparison, maybe not the best, but a guy earlier on the BoxRec forum, shout out to him, Mighty Warrior came out with a good one. He said if AJ goes out and puts on a masterclass tonight, it will be more akin to Terry Norris, who got knocked out in brutal fashion by Simon Brown in 1993 to then come back and outbox Brown 2 fights later. So I thought that was a better comparison.
Yeah, again, I'm going to say that Terry Norris is probably a better fighter than AJ. But anyway, a note on how shit that Sky card was. What a fucking joke. That's Saudi Arabia shit. It's just not working, man. That's fucking just not working. That, like, it just doesn't work. Like, the atmosphere was, look, mad, quiet. Just not fucking... What he's doing, it's not, like, nothing against the I don't give a shit about all that shit. Like, but what he's doing having a fight over there, like, the heavyweight championship in the world, is that there was no atmosphere in the place. It just looks... The undercard was stinking. Tony Bellew had an absolute nightmare. Leave him alone. I wish fucking Sky would leave him alone. He was... Oh, man, he was romanticising about Joshua. The whole fight. It was heavy. Absolutely worm-like from
Tony Bellew is the biggest fucking cunt.
Oh, man, it was so bad tonight, like, so one-sided. But, yeah, I'll leave it at that before I get blown away. Not in a good way.
About to get blown away. A lot of smoke in the arena during Povetkin Hunter. I thought the place might be on fire. Gabe, give us the best of the rest. Quick lowdown on the undercard, what you saw and what you didn't.
The only one... I did see Povetkin Hunter. I didn't think much of it, to be honest with you. You got an old Sasha Povetkin, and you're supposed to be a guy coming up into the division looking to make a name for yourself. You don't go about it by taking on a guy like Sasha fucking Povetkin and getting a draw. Look, Sasha Povetkin is a tough fucking guy. That Russian bastard is stout. Whether he's on the drugs, whether he's not, I don't know. I've always rather liked Povetkin until the drug issue came about, and even at this point, 40 years old, clearly past his best. He's starting to look a little bit soft to me physically, but you're talking about a guy that's 40 years old. Even though he is super experienced and has had lots of big fights, you really can't go in there and get a draw against that guy. I don't have very big hopes for Michael Hunter after that. That fight wasn't a whole lot of fun to me to watch. I was really hoping to see Sasha detonate on Michael Hunter's chin, because that was honestly to me the most likeliest case of a big knockout in that fight. And then the whole Dillian White, Marius Watch, Jesus fuck. I don't even know what to say about that shit. I would like to say something good about it, but I can't. Perhaps I was wrong previously with my disdain for Dillian White on the failed drugs test. I don't believe the bullshit they're spouting now that he was found clean after all. If he was fucking clean, they would have came out with that shit straight away, not held on to it for fucking months on end and waited and waited and waited like they did. The motherfucker served his ban and came back. That's what the fuck happened. Quit bullshitting. I don't believe anything they say. Now, if they show me something or can give me something more than a fucking statement that tells me that was the case, I'll be right there again to admit that I'm a fucking knob and I was wrong. But there's no way. You can't convince me that those fucking bastards aren't lying. Fuck them all. They're all a bunch of cheats, and they let the guy sit out for his suspension and then conveniently gave us a statement right before. Hey, guess what, guys? I'm Abraham Lincoln. I'm Genghis Khan, reincarnated. I did that. I mean, what is this statement? What does that fucking mean? Anybody can say anything. Just because you're the anti-doping agency, somebody's supposed to believe what the fuck you say. I don't. I'm not gonna. And I think it's fucking bullshit that they waited this long to come up with a statement, and that's why I don't fucking believe it. Anybody else would have come out with something right away. But that fight was shit, and I hope Dillian White gets fucking massacred in his next bout.
The doping agencies have all lost credibility to me, because even in USADA now in the UFC, they're allowing certain trace amounts. So in line with what Dillian White was popped for, like a trace amount of something that could be a contamination or whatever, they're just going to let it slide. So WBC brought in similar rules. So what they're basically saying is, don't get caught cycling off. And
well, yeah, you're right, though. I mean, you got to think about.
I thought they were going to be harsher.
You got to think about the science behind that shit, though, to some extent. The science behind it dictates that if there is a trace amount, there had to at some point have been a fucking larger volume. You don't just have a fucking trace amount. Like if it was a trace amount in a piece of meat, you would metabolize that much quicker. It's fucking ludicrous to believe that shit. Fucking absolutely insane. I mean, look, I am not the world's foremost expert on all this shit, but you can't convince me that if there was a trace of this shit in somebody's taco that they fucking ate down in Mexico, that they are going to test for trace amounts. They had to have had a significant amount in their system for there to initially be trace amounts. It had to have metabolized. So if there was a tiny fraction in something that they ingested, it would have already metabolized out. There's no fucking way. No way. No way. No shot. Not happening.
Yeah, I'm no expert on the drug situation myself either, but I think UK don't fit for purpose, and they can be bullied and battered into submission, and I think that's what we've seen with both Fury and Dillian White. I'm not letting either of them off. I'm not getting into the political minefield either, but I thought Curly Watts made a good point, a good summation in the chat. He said, today Sky have promoted openness of homosexuality with rainbow matches. On the same day they're promoting Saudi as a tourist destination. What the fuck? It's almost like they're just interested in the money. Final comment from you, Rapping Rob Kelly, just to sum up the whole evening, the whole spectacle as it went down.
Yeah, the whole thing was shite. Like, it was a shite fight. It was disappointing. It wasn't the result I hoped for. But having said that, have to give massive credit to AJ, because he did what he was supposed to do, and he stopped Ruiz from doing anything in the fight. Ruiz is questions about his hunger, questions about his weight, questions about his training camp. There probably is, but that's all going to be irrelevant. AJ is the champion again. We're going to see some nice mandatories next year. Pulev in Manchester, probably back on home soil, the homecoming. He's done it the hard way. He's two-time champion up there with Ali. So we're going to see a mandatory and then probably see Usyk. I don't think we're going to see him there. Wilder or Fury. At the moment, where I'm feeling about that, I think I'm going to give the edge to Wilder at the moment. I think Fury's got 1 foot out, and it's showing, or it could show. It showed in his last fight. I think it could show. I think Wilder, if he catches him this time, although Fury should beat him every day of the week, I just think there's something saying that Wilder's going to be the one that comes out on top and maybe force that AJ fight down the line. But yeah, AJ did what he had to do. And
crying like a little bitch.
Thank you, Robert. Final summary from you, Gabriel. How do you feel? What's your gut like after tonight's exploits?
Yeah, I'm with Rob on it. I mean, overall, I guess the fight was in some way satisfying because we got a definitive conclusion on the fight. There was no tomfoolery with scorecards or bad counts or anything like that. So there was a bit of satisfaction from reaching a well-deserved end to the evening. I thought all the nonsense leading up, all the Saudi Arabia bullshit, all the rainbow bullshit. I don't know. I mean, I'm not one to get political on any of this stuff. So, I want my boxing to be boxing. Whenever I turn that shit on, quit giving me bullshit. Quit giving me lines about who's who and what's what and how this guy's similar to Muhammad Ali and how this guy's similar to Julio Chavez. I mean, cut the bullshit. Let's just have some boxing with some decent production, Overall, I thought it was a massively overproduced pile of shit. The fight didn't go the way I wanted it to, but that's not a knock on them on the zone or Matchroom. That's a knock on one person, and that's Andy Ruiz. So overall, I was satisfied with the conclusion, but I think it could have been a lot better. The undercard was shit, and I hope Dillian White gets battered in his next fight, brutally bludgeoned.
Great to end on a positive note there. No doubt the debate will continue tomorrow night, episode 352 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm sure Andy will be back. Maybe we'll get Tommy the Guru Allen stirred up from his grave. Who knows? Ozzy was on tonight, thanks to him. John Kearns as well for calling in. Gabe and Rob on the night. Anthony Joshua returned as a relevant major player in the heavyweight division. And Chubby Ruiz looked like trash on the dunes. See you all tomorrow. Bye.